Oh God, that didn't work the way I wanted it to.
No sound.
But it is what it is.
Add that sound in later.
You can't. You're live.
Right.
Mistakes are going to happen, and they go to it. So welcome to Open Caller. I am Cory Willis. He's Vishal. Chef. This is the show falling off the rails already, as
per usual.
Yeah, it's all part of it now.
When the show's going seamlessly, it's like, is that even our show? No, exactly.
I saw this article today. So with things that are happening in the world, and you want to go out and you want to enjoy yourself as much as you can, you're required to wear facial protection.
Of course.
People call them masks.
Some people.
There's a report coming out of the United States of America, mainly the Hollywood Reporter, indicating that Bane movie masks are selling out around the globe.
I get that.
Both cloth and plastic ones.
Oh.
None of which are medically approved, obviously, but they're selling out everywhere online.
At least the cloth ones will help a little bit. The plastic ones, I feel, they're nothing. They will block absolutely nothing.
But
who knows? But you look like Bane.
No one will care who you are until you put on the mask.
That's true. So
they're saying costume.com and buycostumes.com, as well as halloweencostumes.com.
Wow.
All sold out of the plastic one. Well, there's over 150 variations on Etsy.
Yes, of course. That makes sense.
So it says, looking at sales figures, the adult mask had quite a sales spike in April and in early May, which is unusual for this time of year, according to costume.com spokesperson David DeJeck.
That makes sense too. I'm sure, once September rolls around, those things spike.
I'm wondering if people would get the part that goes above.
You know I feel like if you don't, then it's just what are you doing? Like if you get the cloth one, like whatever. But if you're going to get the plastic one, just why not go all out?
And shave your head.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you can't. You don't want to get mask hair.
Oh no, not at all.
That's ridiculous. We're already dealing with quarantine hair. Now you got to get mask hair.
You see, this is the hair.
It looks good.
One of these.
There you go. Just whip it back and forth. I'm pretty excited to just let mine grow out now. I shaved it off, or I buzzed it down. I don't want to say too early on. It was about a couple of weeks, a month ago or so, that it was getting to the point where I was like, I either buzz this off or leave it. And I decided to buzz it. But now that it's kind of even everywhere, like starting even everywhere, I think I'm just going to let it grow out for a while. Not like anyone's going to see me.
Here, while we got the screen share going, this is the piece de resistance.
Yeah, see I feel like the cloth one looks better.
I like how it's got like the what do you call it? Like the facial skin matching.
Yeah,
aesthetic of it.
Yeah, that's right. I'm surprised. Like, I know that there is somewhere. I can't remember the name or whatever, but I'm sure there's a place that's doing it. But like, there's got to be a website or a person or a company or something that you can send a picture of your face, and they will put that onto a mask, so that when you wear the mask, it just looks like your face. You know what I mean? Kind of like
I like
coveroo for your mask. for your mask. I think that would be
coveroos.
I think that would be a great idea. I'm sure it's there, but I think that would be neat.
And have different variations, like clean shaven,
exactly,
and then like the stubble, and then full beard
to go with your face. And then people can be like, whoa, 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 you can't come in here without a mask. And you're like, bro,
Hey, listen.
relax. It's like, how
also
are you
have one that
saying
you're
that
more
without moving your
pale.
mouth?
Ventriloquist.
Yeah, that's right.
Take
Who's the
that,
dummy
Jeff
now?
Dunham.
Nailed
Sucker.
it.
But yeah, I would like to get the real deal Bane mask. I think that would be
Like a big metal one?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. It'd be heavy and suffocating.
But it goes over the top of your head, so you would
I guess there's a little bit of support there. Or not support. What is it? Weight distribution.
Yeah, plus you get, pain medication flowing through.
That's true. And the cool voice. That's built in, right?
It's got the voice changer. You just flick the switch.
Yeah, that's right.
Apple TV. Have you you never subscribed to that one, eh?
I subscribed to it at the end of 2019 because I got the free year.
Yeah.
I have yet to watch a single minute of anything on Apple TV. There's a few things where I'm like, oh,
subscribers were the free ones that no one took out.
What's that? You froze again.
It's fine. Point of my story was they're now buying old programming.
Yeah, I heard that
for their service.
When originally
going the way of everybody else.
Yeah, originally they were like, we are only going to have original content and it's going to be great and whatnot. There's a couple of things that I still like want to check out. Apple TV Plus it's so far down the list after like Disney Plus and Netflix and Amazon Prime and stuff like that. Like I usually cycle through those if I want to find something, and when I don't, or if I don't, I usually end up defaulting to watching Friends or The Office before I check Apple TV Plus. Before I'm like, oh, maybe I should check out what's the one with Jason Momoa? See, I'm like, I've heard not great things about it, but I'm like, when it first came out, I thought that would be interesting. And then there's another one. I think of Apple TV every time I see an article about it, which is not very often. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm subscribed to that. I have to make sure to remember to unsubscribe next December. But yeah, it's usually so far like down my list of searching for things that if I get to the point where I've been searching for something to watch for like 20 minutes and I don't find something, I'm less likely to open up Apple TV Plus than I am to just decide that I don't want to watch anything.
I can't think of anything I've watched on there.
You got it too, though, for the year?
No. I just think of them like,
of
things I've stumbled across. Like they had screeners or something went out when they first dropped or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking of watching For All Mankind. Thought the idea was...
Yeah, that's another one.
And then there's that Chris Evans one that just dropped. Defending Jacob. Like, oh, that seems interesting.
It does seem interesting. Just it would be more interesting if it was on a platform I actually use.
Just thinking Apple TV Plus is like the Oprah Winfrey network of streaming services. It's like it's just the name, and you think, okay, this is going to be good, but it's.
I mean, that's very similar to just Apple in general, right? Like, there's a lot of things that Apple does that's only so. Like, it's not the best in very many categories. But it's like, it has some stuff that I'm gonna stick with. It's just I don't know. Apple TV Plus has not found that show that people are like, oh, I'm gonna stick with it because of this show, right? It's not like iMessage where people are like, I am never leaving iPhone no matter what because I need iMessage,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was kind of like, it's kind of like Netflix and Friends and The Office. Once they leave, so they've already, Friends has left US Netflix. Canada Netflix still has it, which is nice. But once it leaves and it's going to where? Peacock? No.
Yes. Yeah. No, HBO Max.
HBO Max, right.
Which I think is going to be Crave here.
I assume it'll be built into, or it'll be like the second tier of Crave, right? Or will it be a third tier, like Crave, and then Crave plus HBO, and then
Crave
HBO Max.
Crave plus HBO plus Max.
Yeah. Max plus iPhone 12.
The rare plus.
The rare, yeah, that's right. But yeah, Apple TV just doesn't have that show that people are. I think they wanted the Daily Show. Is that what it's called? Morning Show. I think they wanted the morning show to be that show, right? To be the thing that drew people in, because that had just like, if you think about, anything that's like, oh hey, by the way, we have Steve Carell, Jennifer Aniston, who else was in that? Like 3 or 4 pretty big name people.
Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, that's definitely going to be something worth checking out. And I don't know. Like I said, I didn't see it, but I haven't heard great things about it.
Mixed bag.
Yeah. Are you a Joe Rogan Experience listener?
Not regularly. I find he has a lot of people who are above my intelligence level that would talk about things that are out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So I don't subscribe to his podcast on Pocket Cast. They're 3 hours long. Yeah, that part I just can't. Like I probably listen to 2 hours of podcasts like throughout a day.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot think of adding another 3 hour long one. Like unless those 2 hours are split up into like 7 different podcasts, right? But then, so Joe Rogan was available everywhere other than Spotify up until recently. He just signed a deal with Spotify, so he'll be available on Spotify podcasts starting September 1st, and then exclusive to Spotify by the end of the year. That's the thing that, like, there are a lot of people who are Joe Rogan Experience subscribers who, if they only ever, the only time they open up their podcast app is to listen to Joe Rogan. And now, or not now, but starting 2021, to get that Joe Rogan Experience, you're going to need to be a Spotify subscriber. And so, yeah, exactly. So that sucks because podcasts were the thing. Like, again, I'm not a huge Joe Rogan fan, but randomly he's, I check in once in a while to see what guests he's had on in the last week, because every once in a while I'm like, oh,
I'm subscribed to his too, but I just more often than not toss them.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, MKBHD was on there. I would actually listen to 3 hours with, one of my favorite tech YouTubers if they're talking. But yeah, most of the time I'm like, I don't know who he's interviewing, so I'm not going to bother. But there's a lot of people who that's the only podcast they listen to. He's like the most subscribed to which people are subscribed, whatever it is.
Yeah, he was early in the game too. Like I think it was like Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier were one of the big first that him and Hardwick with Nerdist. And then I think Joe was shortly after that.
And yeah, so it's one of those things, like that is what Apple needs, right? Is that one thing, to that one show or a couple of shows that are exclusive to their streaming service, that people are already so invested in that they're like, I guess I'm gonna have to sign up, because it's not like there's a alternative to the Joe Rogan Experience, right? It's not like, I don't know, like I listen to PTI and Around the Horn every day, and if those leave, I'm like, all right, I'll just find some other sports talk show.
Yeah,
like that. It doesn't really matter. They both talk about the same things anyway, and everyone's going to talk about it. And most of the time, I just listen to it so that I can get an idea of what happened in sports today, and then I'll go read up on it even more if I want to. But I'm not liking the trend that, podcasts, which used to be a, hey, get podcasts wherever you want, to, free all medium, right, well, if you, it's turning into the podcast streaming wars, just like the video streaming wars.
Yeah, I noticed that there's some I listened to where you could listen to them, and then, if you want to listen to our back catalog, sign up for Stitcher Premium.
Yeah,
I know when Conan O'Brien launched his, he ended up doing a small 6-episode just riffing with Dana Carvey, and you can get exclusive access to that 6 weeks early by going to Stitcher Premium and signing up. And then a month and a half later, it dropped on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
But my question to you, since podcasts have really been going around since like 2007, really picked up 2010, do you think a trend like this is something they should have done at the beginning, kind of like when Howard Stern went to Sirius?
Well, that's the thing, is I think the reason podcasts are as big as they are now is because they're available wherever you want them, right? It's just a subscribe to an RSS feed and you're good to go. Right now, Apple Podcasts is still the gold standard for discovery, right? Like, rating, giving 5 stars on any other platform literally does nothing, but rating 5, or however many stars on Apple Podcasts is the thing that drives search engines, or drives search results.
Yes.
So plug, if you haven't given us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, please go and do that, just so that more people can find it. There it is. We're at a full 5, and out of 2 out of 2 votes. Just us.
There's 7.
There's 7. But yeah, so definitely go give us 5 stars, but do it on Apple Podcasts, because it's really the only way. So like, that's another thing, is like, Joe Rogan doesn't need a lot of exposure, right? So it's not like he's going to not be able to be found on Spotify.
Like, the other thing too is he's making money off ads. Does he need more dollars?
That's the thing. It's one of those things that it just doesn't make sense for someone like him to do, where ads are going to be his like main source of revenue. And in that case, you want to be available as wherever you can to get, more of your ads out there. But I mean,
yeah, because if you're paying to listen to it, do you want to hear commercials?
Exactly. But that's the other thing too, is I'm sure Spotify's got a ton of money. I'm sure they're like, hey, whatever you normally make on ads, like, we'll cover that, because they'll make more in new subscribers. And then I also read that because it wasn't just like, his thing wasn't always just the audio podcast. Like, he's on YouTube.
Yeah, I've watched some of them on there.
And
like this, watching people talk.
Yeah, but apparently it's going to be, there's going to be a few clips here and there, like snippets of the podcast on YouTube, but you won't be able to watch the full video on YouTube either. So now it's like really going to be, and it's not, like the one you were talking about, where it's like, okay, for 6 weeks it's going to be on Spotify and then it'll be available everywhere. It's like, no, it's only going to be available as a Spotify exclusive. But I mean, that seems to be what people are doing. Like, Spotify has been actually the one that's just been buying up everything, right? So they bought Anchor.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't bite the hand that runs our show.
They bought Gimlet Studios or whatever it is. Like they have a lot of stuff. It's a weird play. I mean, I'm sure they know more than I do about all this, so they've done their research and it's going to work out for them because it's Spotify and seems to be gold on everything they touch. But I don't know, podcasts, it just seems like the best thing about it was you could listen to it anywhere. And now it seems like you might have to, subscribe to a few different things just to get the podcasts you like.
Or you don't list the ones on their top episodes or top podcasts anymore on Apple Podcasts.
What do you mean?
Well, you can click on browse and you go like, oh, top shows. I don't think they have that anymore because he was always, if it wasn't his show, at least it was an episode that he just did that was. No, it's all segmented by categories.
Yeah, now it's all
top episodes, but not. That's all they have now. Oh yeah, no, here it is. He's number 2.
Oh, who's number 1?
Call Her Daddy.
Call Her Daddy?
Yeah, by Barstool Sports. He's number 1 in show, number 2 and 4, 6, 7 in episodes. Oh, Patton Oswalt.
Ah, see, like that's one I would listen to specifically.
Let's see the length.
3.5. 2.5.
Oh, Tony Hawk too. An hour and a half.
An hour and a half. Wow, that's like.
What if it was based on his height because he's not tall?
That's.
And Tony Hawk is Tony Hawk's an hour 53.
You must be this tall to get to the 2-hour mark.
But you are not. You are short. Last Dance is done. So how did it end? Can't believe that Phil Jackson was Michael Jordan's father.
They won. The Bulls won. It was nice.
Just when you thought that wasn't going to happen. Eh?
Yeah, exactly. I really enjoyed it. There's a few things that kind of made me scratch my head. But what's fun now is there's a lot of so there's throughout the whole kind of run, 5 weeks, there was a lot of people or a lot of like NBA players that kind of went on record. They're like, I'm not going to watch it. I don't need to watch it kind of thing. Patrick Ewing was one of them. Scottie Pippen apparently was not too happy about some of the stuff. And while it was so, when I first found out about it, it seemed like it was going to be a Michael Jordan documentary. And then just even after watching the first 2 episodes, like the first 2 that dropped, it's obvious that it was going to be like mostly centered around Michael Jordan, but each episode was about like a different role player in kind of that run leading up to the 97-98 finals. So there was an episode of like mainly just focused on Scottie Pippen, one that was mainly about Dennis Rodman, Phil Jackson, Steve Kerr, stuff like that. And then the other ones were mostly centered around Michael Jordan. But there's, it was Michael Jordan's kind of, he had the rights to all the footage. So he also got final say in what was in it, how they portrayed it, all that kind of stuff. But like it wasn't like, he didn't get final edits and stuff like that, but he was like, he got a lot of, like he had his hands in there. And there's a lot of people that are kind of upset with the way they were portrayed and the way like decisions that were made got portrayed and stuff like that. Like there's one where Michael Jordan like straight up says, oh, Horace Grant was the one that leaked this information, whatever.
Yeah, I was reading Horace.
Right. And now Horace Grant is like, yeah, like that's not what happened. So like like he's mad at Michael Jordan about that. Not that it matters. It was 20 years ago and Michael Jordan's Michael Jordan and Horace Grant is Horace Grant. Like it's just one of those things that it doesn't really matter. But, it's one of those things where you have to watch it and you have to take a lot of stuff that happened with a grain of sand or a grain of salt, whatever, a grain of bread if you want to.
Take it with a loaf of bread.
Yeah. But it's just like everything else that's edited. It's edited to have a specific narrative, right? And this is Michael Jordan's narrative. So
you're not watching it for anybody else.
What's that? Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. Is I don't think there's a lot of people that are watching, like a lot of people who already dislike Michael Jordan or think a certain way about Michael Jordan are going to watch this and come out saying, well, it's all bull, and I still think the same thing. Same with me. I think a certain way about Michael Jordan. I think he's the most talented basketball player and just talented athlete in general, that I have had the pleasure of growing up watching. And yeah, like I knew he was a dick, I knew he was an asshole, but that doesn't change the fact that seeing those highlights brings me back to when I was in my early teens watching those exact games. I remember some of those games. Like I can remember where I was on my couch. Like I was clearly never at any of the games, but like I remember.
Oh, that takes me back to the love seat.
But it takes me back to when I was a kid and I remember watching those games. So it's just I don't know, I came out of it and I was like, I loved it because I got to watch Michael Jordan highlights for 10 episodes basically. And there's a few things that I learned which were really neat, and but most of the stuff I already knew because it all had to do with the games. He didn't talk. I don't think there was no talk about his like love life at all. Like the only scandalous thing really that they talked about was his gambling, and like that was a well-known issue or well-known thing. And then after that, it was all about how he treated his teammates, which was just, hey, work as hard as I am and we'll win. And pretty much everyone in the interview, like every teammate was like, yep, he was a dick. Like, yeah, he yelled at us.
Yep, total dick.
Yeah. But then they would always end with, but he was doing it so that we all won. And guess what? We won. So whatever, ends justify the means situation. But, it seemed like he was just that way on the court. And then once he got off, he was the, the be like Mike good guy, But it was an enjoyable one. It's fun to think about. Now everyone's asking who's going to be next, right?
Tiger.
I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of good stuff with Tiger, but like you cannot tell Tiger's story without the Thanksgiving that happened, same with Kobe. Like you cannot tell Kobe's story without a bunch of bad stuff happening that, if whoever is doing the documentary, if they don't put enough of it in, it's going to be like, well, you're editing to avoid talking about this stuff.
You're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
So I think, and those two specifically, like Tigers and Kobe's, are like, you can't tell that story without putting a big emphasis on, a couple of specific events for each person. And then, the next one is obviously LeBron James, but his story isn't finished yet. So it's like, all right, I guess we'll wait 20 years for that to happen.
Yeah, if you think of all the great athletes that you're going to have, like the darkness in there, like Brett Favre, like look how his career ended.
Yeah.
Or Joe Namath.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It definitely. Every time I see that clip of him talking to the reporter, I'm like, oh man,
Just the
how?
alcohol.
Yeah, just
That and the vapor
how.
lock.
I feel like I would be interested in something like a Wayne Gretzky one, but I don't think there would be enough footage, right? It would just be like the thing about this one was they had the 96 the 98 97 98 footage. Like they were like, "Hey, we're going to record you for a year. We're
Mhm.
not doing anything with it right now, but it's there." So,
Yeah, it will be enough
now
footage, but
it
also
might seem that people are going to have a lot of, maybe they'll be like, "Hey, LeBron, you mind if we follow you around this year?" Like if they think it's going to be his last year, I'm sure that they'll do that. But with Gretzky or with Lemieux, with anyone really now, it's like this was planned 20 years ago,
Mhm.
right? And then it was just I'll release it when we're ready to. And I guess now it's the good thing is it's like Jordan's worth like $1 billion, right? Like I'm pretty sure his net worth is over $1 billion. Um, it's not like he was like, "All right, running out of money. This is this is my way to get some more." Um, so I don't know. I guess he just decided this was a good time to let it all out. But I don't know. I'd like to. It's just there's some like obviously you want to see it with the scandal because like you could do Roger Federer, but he's like the cleanest athlete, the cleanest kind of number one guy. Like the only scandal stuff around him is when he started to lose, some majors. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, so you got old? Cool. Like that's really that's it. But like that's the thing with Michael Jordan is there's gonna be some scandal stuff and it comes in with team sports. For individual players,
I was
it's
gonna
like,
say
all
like
right, you push yourself, I don't know, maybe you have a fight with a coach and you
what's
decide,
the Gretzky scandal? Him getting sold to the Kings, and that's
I
nothing to
don't know if
him.
for yeah, that's another thing with Gret. Like that's I kind of said that hesitantly because I was just like, yeah, like I don't know. He was always a good guy too, right? Just perfect
There's
role
some off
model.
ice stuff that I've heard years later, but that's neither confirmed,
Yeah,
just hearsay.
exactly. And I doubt that there's any sort of footage to confirm any of that either. Or like, in the case of Michael Jordan's gambling, like there's books and lawsuits and stuff like that. Like there's public record that maybe
Well,
he didn't
wasn't
have a problem, but that he really, really enjoyed gambling
well,
and
trying to
had the
say because
means.
I think all the other thing athletes now that they're making movies out of because wasn't Matt Damon doing a Lance Armstrong movie?
Yeah, that's right. Isn't but he's doing something else. Oh no, I'm thinking of a different thing. Um, but yeah, I don't like. I thought it was really good, but again, I am biased in the sense that Michael Jordan's been my number one for so long that unless they uncovered some like new information about how he murdered someone, like you know, there wasn't really going to be a lot in that was going to change my mind.
You just wait for the
And
follow up now, Mister.
yeah, um, and but I'm sure it was the same for other people that didn't like him. Like there wasn't going to be anything in that documentary that was going to redeem him. So you were going in, thinking a certain way, and I would
Yeah,
say almost 100% of the people left thinking that exact same certain way.
it's confirmation bias bait. Either
Yeah.
you're going to go in hating him and you're going to be confirmed, and you're either going to loving him and yep. Like my dad doesn't like Michael B. Jordan because his name's Michael Jordan. He said there's only one. It's like Highlander rules.
Yeah, there's only
There can be only one. Uh,
You're frozen again.
but Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Peyton,
Brady?
Tom Brady. Brady, is that his name?
Mm-hmm. The Tampa Bay Bradeneers.
I don't know if that is airing here. I haven't seen anywhere that's showing it.
They better be. I'm excited to watch that.
Who you got?
I don't know. I'm a Tiger guy. I want Tiger to win. So Tiger and Peyton, I believe. No.
Yeah.
It's
Phil and Brady.
Who was it? I think it was Phil. No, it was Tom Brady that was like, who did Peyton Manning play for?
The Colts.
The Colts.
And
yeah,
then
he's like,
and then the Broncos.
He's like, I've been beating Colts and Tigers for years, or something like that.
Ayo.
Nice little bit of trash talk. Phil won the last Tiger versus Phil, right?
He did, yes.
Yeah. So I'm hoping Tiger wins this one so that we get a third one, just kind of Rocky style.
But then he'd have to do a fourth one and face a Russian.
Fourth one, and it's just mini putt though.
Nice. I'd watch that.
I'd watch that for sure. I would love to watch professional golfers on just a
mini putting,
yeah, on like a sufficiently hard mini putt course.
Like, you want a mini golf course that is like themed with like windmills and stuff like that, or like they have down on Maryville where it's
no, not like that one. It would like a theme, like windmills and stuff. So it's not just it's more timing and speed and stuff versus, all right, I gotta roll it up this hill so that it'll make its way down. But
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
Why are we not doing like that? Is what we need right now in this
that's exactly
crazy
what we
world.
Need right now.
There are so many mini golf courses that are not being used. Just have Tiger freaking ripping one.
You have selected Power Drive. I suggest Feather Touch.
Lee Carvalho's putting challenge. It's the games all kids want.
That's right. Nobody wants Bone Storm.
Now, where do you think Marge went to get that? Did she go to
same place,
the comic book store? Because he had an abundance of Lee Carvalho's putting challenge? No. And that's the type of person who would say, this is the one all the kids wants because he has so many copies? Or you think she would have went back to the try and save?
I think she went to the try and save.
Yeah, it makes sense. But it was just the scene where he's renting the games out.
That's true.
The dungeon. Was it Android?
The
Arnold's? Android Dungeon.
Yeah, the Android Dungeon.
This is a robot friend.
Well, speaking of which, we're gonna get actual.
See that they re-releasing those as that's what I was saying. 4.3.
I'm happy about that.
So I never tried them out on there. So they literally 16:9 them and everything was cut off.
Yeah, which is like, okay, so most of the time it's fine. Like 99% of the time, the 16:9 is fine. Obviously, most of the stuff is centered in this in the screen, but there's just those few jokes that, and it's another one of those things where there's a few jokes that, whatever, if you miss it, it doesn't really change the episode at all.
Yeah,
but if you can see it and you catch it, it just makes it elevates that episode just a little bit higher. Like the main example I always see used is the one where they're at the Duff Brewery.
Yeah.
And then it shows vats of like Duff and Duff Light and Duff, I don't know, a third one, ale or whatever it is. And in the 16:9 one, you just see the three vats and they're like, oh, these are the different kinds of beer we have. But in the 4x3 one, you see that a tube, it's like one single tube above everything, split up into three things, and the exact same beer is going into each vat. So it's like, that makes it just a little bit funnier. And if it's not there, you're just like, they're doing a Duff Tour brewery tour. Like, who cares?
Moving on.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice that they're gonna have that. I don't think it's a huge deal. I just, because it's the earlier seasons that are like that, and
AKA the good seasons.
Exactly. Those are the ones we can all agree are the good ones. It's nice to see, or it's going to be nice to be able to see all the jokes that kind of we grew up with.
See, I don't know many people, especially ones that I would talk to, that watch The Simpsons like we did, that watch them now, that would say, when we started to see the decline, to them, that those are the prime years.
Yeah.
You don't have that. You have people who have, like, this was, like, growing up, this was the show that we watched. The kids, this is growing up, this is the show that they watch, but you don't have the overlap, I find, with The Simpsons. Been around for 32 years.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of people that started in season 20 and was like, oh, this is the show, and I'm going to watch it.
Like, we will go back and watch The Office and say, season 2, season 3, they're the best ones.
Absolutely.
And there's people who are big Andy fans who are like, oh no, when Andy came in season 4,
yeah.
Like, no, that was the start of the decline.
Exactly. But like, that's the thing. There's a lot of people who, watch the first season of The Office or the first few episodes, and they're like, yeah, like, this isn't for me. And I'm like, no, like, it gets better. It gets really good, and then it starts to get bad, but it's so good in seasons 2 and 3, but they just never get there. It's just like Lost, like we were talking about last week, where if you can't make it past the first few episodes, you're gonna miss out on a lot of good stuff. But then there's just people who, they're like, yeah, it's not for me. Weirdos. But it's also, I think the people who were, if you didn't watch it, like, kind of like as we did, when you're growing up and you're looking for cartoons to watch, they're probably the ones that were watching the Rick and Morty's and, I don't know, like, maybe people liked American Dad and all that kind of stuff.
I watched American Dad
when it first came out.
I was rough when it first came out.
Yeah, but like, maybe if you watch that, not really ever having watched The Simpsons, you like, that was the reason I didn't really get into it, is because I was always comparing it to The Simpsons, because, like, well, that's what they were trying to do. They had a character, they had all the same characters. And I was like, you're just not doing it the same way, or you're not doing it as well as The Simpsons did it. And I did watch it, it was part of my Sunday night lineup, but after a while it fizzled out, and then I just never got back into it. But maybe if you didn't watch The Simpsons and you were a bit younger than us, then maybe you started watching, Family Guy, American Dad.
I could see Family Guy being some kids' Simpsons.
What was the other one?
King of the Hill?
No, I was gonna say King of the Hill, but that was kind of more, I think you watched Simpsons and King of the Hill.
Yeah.
There was another one that came out around the same time as American Dad.
Cleveland Show was after that.
Yeah.
But you had to watch Family Guy to know who Cleveland was.
Exactly. But yeah,
Bob
I think
is on now.
I think it was, I think Family Guy was definitely, this generation's The Simpsons, or something like Futurama. And
oh yeah, I'd say Futurama probably would have been around Family Guy.
But yeah, I think like those ones are things that, because you could start at the beginning of watching those, whereas if you started watching The Simpsons starting at season 15 and not having seen the other ones, there's a lot of character. Do I want to say character development? Well, there's just a lot of characters. Yeah. Like, not really, but there's just a lot of characters that, you're like, maybe you get a little bit more invested in,
It's amazing how you can watch the show and not realize until they start pointing out that we have a story that is going to wrap up in the next 4 minutes, and it's going to undo everything that just happened.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be referenced again. It was like, was it the episode where Homer and Flanders becomes friends? And then like it's towards the tail end, and like Lisa points out, like, or Bart points out something about like, Lisa, you said like this was going to end. It's not, like they're still friends. It's like, I guess this is the end of our adventures. And then like it's cut to, it says like, 3 weeks later or something, and Flanders shows up. He's like, shut up, Flanders. And
Yeah.
and the episode's over. Yeah. Everything's back to normal.
That's right.
But I will say, I found that this season of Family Guy has really found its footing again, because a lot of the stuff is more self-referencing, especially that they're owned by Disney, that they will like do something and say things like, can we do this now that we're owned by Disney?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It's nice when they do that.
Just being self-aware. I think there was like one that was like just straight up talk. That's all they talked about, was doing different Disney-esque things because they're now part of that.
Well, they already did. They did all the Star Warses.
Yeah.
Well, not all, but they did 3 of them.
I do like the beginning of the third one, where they're just sitting there and the power goes out like the other 2 episodes, and they're like, damn it. It's like, I know, let's just get through this.
Yeah.
And then Seth being in that crawl, being brutally honest about Fox like forced his hand, or they wouldn't let him go make Ted.
Yeah. That was, I think, like, as much as I love Star Wars, those and like those 3 episodes of Family Guy and Spaceballs are just like so good in parodying Star Wars that I'm like it's almost better in my in my eyes. Like,
there are so many visual cues that they do in the Family Guy ones, like when they're the tractor beam brings in the Millennium Falcon, and it shows that wide shot of the 2 like security guards watching it, and one guy like leans over to grab the other one's hand and he smacks it away.
Yeah.
It's like unnecessary, but it's amazing.
It needs to be there though.
Or they point out when like the Death Star fires the laser and those 2 guys are standing there, and they point out how there's no guardrail there.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, there wasn't one in the movie. It's like, this is a safety hazard.
So good.
Or was it when they point out the flaw with the Death Star just doing? He's like, can we get some guys up there to patch that hole? It's like, well, we can patch it, but it won't look good. Like, should I get an estimate? Yeah, you better get an estimate. You gotta think resale.
That's right.
Oh man. What else? So we were talking before about Apple, but you said they're releasing bigger minis?
Yeah. So
the mini is dead. Long live the larger mini.
So here's the thing: the current, well, I guess all the generations of the minis have all been the exact same size now. I don't know what generation they're on,
bezeling,
like 5 or 6 or something.
Thickness and stuff have changed.
Yeah. So it seems as though the rumor is, so currently the iPad mini is 7.9 inches. That's the screen size. The rumor is the 2020 iPad mini or early 2021 iPad mini is going to have a 9-inch screen. But it seems like they'll be keeping the same form factor, but just really slimming down the bezels to fit a 9-inch screen in the same size as the 7.9 inch.
So no button
one. And like, I don't know, I think that it would be, I don't know, I guess 7.9 inches compared to their 6.5 inch like biggest screened iPhone, like, because there's 2 ways that they could have done that, right? Is they could keep the same form factor and slim out the bezels to get a bigger screen in the same size body, or they take the same size screen and just put a small bezel around that, so you just get a smaller smaller thing to hold, but you still get the same size of screen. Obviously they've opted for bigger screen in the same size body. But yeah, like, it's still going to be a smaller form factor, because all the other ones are now 10.5 inches for the regular iPad, and then 11 and 12.9 for the iPad Pros. But yeah, it's like we were talking about. Like I made fun of them a lot early on, but I do kind of miss when Apple was like, nobody wants big screens. 3.5-inch screen is the perfect size, and then they went up to 4, and then they went up to 5. And now they're at 6.5. But it was I think I personally prefer the bigger screened phones.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see a market for smaller phones with good specs, because it seems like now if you get a smaller phone, you're getting that size, you're getting that form factor that, maybe you can use one-handed, it'll fit inside a pocket or a purse and not kind of take up all the space. But if you do that, whatever company is making that phone usually like gimps it really hard with a bad camera or slow processor or bad battery life or bad screen or so many things. And it's really hard to make a super high end phone that is really small, because battery life is always going to be, you can only fit so much battery inside a smaller form factor. And then especially if you want to have a really good screen, I mean, that drains your battery, so you need a bigger battery. And if you want a really fast processor, you need a place for all the heat to go, so you need some more room.
Makes
And
sense.
it's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into it. But so I mean, that's probably why they're coming out with the same form factor but a 9-inch screen, or the same body but a 9-inch screen. No home button, all Face ID, which sucks with with masks now, which is why you need to have masks with your face on them. It all comes back.
You heard it here first. Yeah, so I told you I've been watching the Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah.
From the 70s forward. They're so bad, but they're so good.
I definitely remember watching the first two. And then I'm not sure if I've seen any other ones.
Oh, you gotta watch
up until the James Franco ones.
Yeah, no, you gotta watch all of them through, because then you can see the budgets deplete as they go.
Oh,
like there's I was reading by the time the 5th one came out, Fox had already planned on, like, we're gonna move this to TV, because sci-fi was taking off of television, with Star Trek and all that, Battlestar Galactica and all that stuff was coming out. So they just torpedoed the budget. So it's Battle for the Planet of the Apes. So there's this big war scene, and since they didn't have any money, much like you've seen jokes like in Family Guy or American Dad or even The Simpsons, they had one treehouse they could blow up, but they shot it from multiple angles. So in it, when you're watching this big battle, they'll cut to a treehouse blowing up, and then they'll go back to the fight, and then it'll cut to what you think is another treehouse, but it's the same one from a different angle.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
And then, like, rather than having everyone with, like, articulated masks, the separate prosthetics that go up and down when they talk, they're just wearing ones that pull over. So they don't look like any of the other apes in the movies.
Yeah. Just generic ape one.
Yeah, more or less. So they don't have any speaking lines. And then it's convoluted. Oh yeah, no, it's great. And then, like, was it the second one? Charlton Heston didn't want to do it, so he only agreed to do it if they killed him off, and much like Bill Murray or Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But it was like he wanted to be killed off at the beginning, and then later he came back. Well, someone else quit, and then he came back, and he's just like, okay, well, at the end, I want to be killed off at the end instead, and I want to take the planet out with me. So he can't make any more movies, so I don't have to be any more. But
Good.
you know, and at that time too, sequels weren't really something that studios were doing.
No.
Not back in the 70s. But brings me up. I brought that up to bring me to our dad joke for the evening to wrap up this good show. So I ask you, Vishal, what do you call two monkeys sharing an Amazon account?
Two monkeys sharing an Amazon account. Two monkeys. I don't know. You froze at the punchline. I heard nothing.
Primates.
Nice.
Yeah. It wasn't good the first time. Definitely wasn't good the second time. Next time, just yes, clever.
Oh, well done.
Insert generic reaction.
I saw a good one earlier this week. I will text it to you for next week.
You better.
It's a good one.
It was a good one.
So, Planet of the Apes starts at 1968 with Planet and then Escape. No,
Planet, Beneath, Escape, Conquest, Battle.
Okay.
And then Rise, Dawn, War.
Well, no.
And Rise, more or less, is a remake of Conquest.
What's this? 2001. Oh, 2000. Oh, that's the Mark Wahlberg one?
Yeah, we don't watch that one.
Yeah, we don't need to have that one in there. I'm like, what? I just like went through the list of all of these here, and then I'm like, wait, what's this random one off to the side? That makes sense.
Yeah.
We'll just avoid that one.
Yeah, no, the new ones are about the simian flu, which really hits home.
Yep.
Funny clip I sent you. If you have a cough or fever, stay home. People are wearing masks. Things are spreading around the world.
Oh, man.
Then I'm like, oh, no, I'm watching CNN. I'm going to put the movie back on. All right. So that is Open Collar for this week. Follow us socially. Our links are at the bottom. Facebook.com/Open Collar Podcast. Twitter, Instagram, Open Collar Pod. Like us on and subscribe on YouTube. YouTube.com/GoVNC. Rate us. Share all our stuff with people you think need some entertainment. That's what we're here for. For Vishal, I'm Cory, reminding you to keep it casual.